Hi everyone and welcome back to Mimi's Place. Today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to give you a peek into part of my childhood and growing up, even into young adulthood. And then after that it just got, it's the same old, same old. But I wanted to give you a glimpse into what I ate as a child growing up. What did my parents provide for us, and what did my mom prepare for us? So, backstory. My father is was first generation Italian. My mom was first generation Armenian, Middle Eastern. And so we grew up, all we ate was ethnic foods, really. Um, not too much. There was, she'd call it American food, There were things that we liked and we ate and we loved it. But for the most part, we had very simple meals. Now, I was born way back in 1963, and my mom didn't work. She worked part time at night when I was a baby and they were saving up to get a down payment and pay for this home. So she worked a little bit part-time at night. After my father got home, she worked in a factory. I don't remember eating too much at the other house. I was two. I remember sitting there. I actually it was a two-bedroom. So I was in the crib with my mom and dad in their room. My brothers had their room that they shared, and I had my toys and everything in their bedroom. So I had to, if I wanted to play, I wanted to go in there. But I remember having like tea parties with my mom, sitting at the kitchen table or sitting at my little table and chairs in my brother's room. Yeah, I don't remember too much other food there. I do remember sitting on the porch with my father. A lot of times during a thunderstorm, like we would just sit out there. We lived on the second floor, and it was a big long porch, and we would just sit there and talk, and I'd be running all around. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So what did Mimi eat as a child growing up? Well, meals were very simple. They were simple because they were just basic things that we always had in the house. Um, I'm not going to say money was never any object, and I don't mean to be insensitive to anyone, but food was never a problem. They never had a problem providing food for us. If they did, I am totally unaware of it. So they did a good job of hiding it, if that was even the case. So things that I remember, I remember cold winter mornings. We would have cream of wheat. I would have toast, or we would have like Apple Jacks, sometimes an egg with the toast. Um, that's like before I was school age, and then when I was started kindergarten. Um, well, let's go back a little bit, because in those days you walked to school and you walked home. But not only that, you walked home at lunchtime. There were no freebies. You went home and you ate lunch at home. So I remember around a certain time, my mother would stop cleaning and put the brakes on, and she'd be getting lunch ready for me and my brothers, because um, we all ate lunch at the same time. They'd be coming home like around 11:45. I'm just throwing that out there. And they would eat lunch and they would go back. They would go back to school. So she wasn't going to make a million different lunches to fit a million different schedules like some moms do now. So we all ate lunch at the same time. And I remember it would be like something simple. Bologna and cheese sandwiches, salami sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly, grilled cheese, or grilled cheese and soup and crackers. Like any combination with that. And then they would walk back to school and I would have my nap, because I was little. So lunches that I remember at home were pretty simple and basic. So we did the breakfasts, we did the lunch cookies. Well, let's just say like an after school snack. We didn't have veggies and dip and cheese and cracker. My mother didn't do that. You got home from school or your mid to late afternoon snack, you had a glass of milk and a few cookies. Maybe a piece of fruit if you wanted it. I mean, it was there, but that's what we had. Now, I don't recall if she ever really got it ready for us. Yeah, because we didn't really run the kitchen. It was her kitchen. And, you know, yeah, we had cookies and milk and maybe a fruit. Dinners were a big deal in my home growing up, and they still are. We all ate supper together. We called it supper, and we all ate together. And before my mom started working, now she went to work in 1970, I think, when I started school all day. So it was like 70, I was 71. She started working full time, which back on part time, which was like 9 to 2 or 9 to 3. She worked in a bank. So she was home a little while after we got home from school. But my brothers were 8 and 5 years older than me. So they would walk me home from school, you know. And we had chores. We had chores to do. It wasn't like we had free reign of anything. We had to come in the house, lock the doors, call her at work immediately to let her know that we were all there and we were all safe. And we weren't allowed to pig out on stuff. So we had our cookies and milk. You know, she said, you know, there's milk and there's cookies in the cookie jar. And we just listened to what Mom said because she was a mom, right? But suppers were a big deal. And it was a family meal. And we just knew better. Supper was between 5 and 5:30. And we all better be washed up and sitting at that table together at the same time. Presentable. Not in pajamas, not in dirty clothes. We had to be presentable, which we were because we change up from our school clothes to our play clothes or our after school clothes. She called them play clothes. But they were fine. They were clean. They weren't ripped. You know, so we had to wash up and get ready and sit at the table and eat. Where we leave it to Beaver, sitting there with, you know, my father with the suit and tie? No. And my mother didn't clean house with pearls around her neck. She didn't wear high heels when she was waxing the floor. So we weren't really leave it to Beaver style, but we will leave it to Beaver culture, if that makes sense. I hope it does. Anyway. So there's different things that we would have for dinner. Well, first off, to lead up to what we ate for dinner growing up, you would have to picture it. Rhode Island, 1960s, right? We were outside playing after our school chores after school. About 4:30, we had to be in the house, 4 o'clock, because that was the time that I had to set the table. And my brothers had to maybe either light the oven and put something in it that my mother prepared but didn't cook. And any chores that had to be done. She always made sure that the beds were made and the breakfast dishes were washed, dried, and put away. And there was nothing hanging around the house before she went to work. She took 2 buses there and 2 buses home. She never drove. So we had our little responsibilities. As I got older, it was, okay, now Sandy's gonna set the table and peel the potatoes. So my dad was a blue-collar worker. He was a cook during the Korean War in Korea, and he loved to cook. He grew up with 12 siblings. My mother grew up with 6 siblings, and cooking was just part of their life. So a lot of times my father would start the dinner and my mom would finish it off. Or in those days at the bank, you had to prove out. So if your drawer wasn't balanced, nobody left. You didn't leave the bank until everybody proved out. So a lot of times she'd be like half hour late, 20 minutes later. So my dad would just go ahead and finish dinner. So weeknight suppers were pretty simple, but they were always delicious and just real home cooking, what we considered home cooking. Okay, so let's say on a Sunday, my mom made macaroni and meatballs that my father always loved, and we had that a lot on Sunday dinners with sausage. We'd have a salad. We'd have a big dessert. So Monday was basically leftovers. So she would heat those up, and we would have them, but it tasted like you had it the day before. And I think a lot of that is she used the oven. She used the top of the stove. She used the oven. There were no toaster ovens. There were no microwaves. So everything was heated up that way. Then, like 1 or 2 nights a week, we'd have something like pork chops and some kind of potatoes, a salad, and another vegetable. And the pork chops were fried in butter with garlic powder and garlic on them. Very simple. Very simple. Everything always came out delicious. Another night she'd make baked mac and cheese, and we'd have salad with it. And we didn't have any meat or anything with it. The baked mac and cheese was our dinner. That was it. And you had your salad. Another night she would do soup. She'd make, like a homemade soup. If we had roasted chicken on a Sunday, she would make chicken soup with it or prepare it for the week. A lot of times she would boil a whole chicken and get it ready, and we would have soup a couple of times that week, maybe 2 times. Any kind of roast, we would have that left over. But we always had, it was just basic. It was chicken or pork chops or sometimes chicken cutlets. Depends on what time they had after work. And then we also had things like, what else did we have? We didn't have too many casserole type things. On Fridays during Lent, we would have spaghetti aglio with no meat in it. So they'd have that. We'd have it. We'd have the big macaroni was a big thing during Lent. Sometimes we'd have all different kinds of tuna. We'd have American tuna sandwiches, Italian tuna sandwiches. We would also have, Saturday nights my father would make pizza a lot. He did that when we got older. When we were younger and growing up, my parents always, they got paid on a Friday, they went grocery shopping on a Saturday, and they got steak. And every Saturday night, we had T-bone steaks. And that was a big meal for them. They didn't go anywhere. They didn't do anything. They didn't hire babysitters. There was none of this, I need me time or we need a date night. They had children, and their responsibility, they felt, was to be with their children at all times. And family, that's what you did. So every Saturday night we'd have steak. And then we'd have company. And when we had company, we knew that we were getting the real good desserts. Pastries, a lot of things were homemade, cakes from scratch, pastry from the Italian bakery that I still go to get pastry from. If there was desserts during the week, it was something simple, like Mom would make pudding, or she would make Jell-O. Cakes and desserts and things like that were for Sundays. And company on Saturday evenings. And Saturday evenings, you were all talking, we weren't on the phone, we would all be in the living room, and we would be, my mom would have all different kinds of candy and candy dishes and potato chips, and not too many people did dip. It was like you ate your chips, And then she'd make coffee, and then there was cheese spread and fancy crackers, and coffee and soda if anyone wanted it, and the big pastries. And that's basically what we ate. Sundays was either like a roasted chicken, pilaf, salad, spinach, medium dinner, or it was macaroni, meatballs, sausage, salad, Italian dinner. And then it would be a roast pork one time, a roast beef another time. So it was evened out, but it was kind of like the same thing all the time, but it was always different. We never ate a lot of the same thing. midweek dinners would be escarole beans, pasta fazool, beef stew, just simple things because my mom had 3 children, no dryer, and she took 2 buses to and from work. So she would spend most days on Sundays after dinner, or Sunday mornings, cooking for the week. She did the laundry on Saturdays, again, no dryer. So Sunday she made sure everybody's clothes were ironed for the week. She made sure all our lunches were made, and our lunches were lunch meat or leftover chicken, she'd make chicken sandwiches out of leftover chicken, or she would make us meatball sandwiches out of the meatballs from the day before, from, like on a Monday. But during the week it was bologna or ham and cheese, bologna and mustard, salami and lettuce, like things like that. So we ate pretty basic, and we ate good food. And I don't remember her having a million ingredients in her cooking. I don't remember her having stockpiles of food, but you also have to remember this was baby boomer time. I'm a boomer. And the economy was booming at that time, and we were able to not worry about what was going to happen. Now we kind of have to be a little concerned and make sure that we got a back. I mean, she always had a backup, believe me. If she had 1 of something, it means she had 3 of something. And that's how we lived. So we ate great. We ate all home-cooked stuff. Nothing was ever frozen. To us, canned foods were peas and corn. Those are the only things that weren't fresh. And, that's what we ate. So I just wanted to give you a little glimpse into what we ate as a child, what I ate and what we enjoyed growing up. We got milk from the milkman. There was a lot of fish on Fridays, as a matter of fact, because we were all Catholic, and everybody who just didn't eat meat on Friday, we had a fish man that actually came around on Fridays selling fish, fresh fish, and all the old Italian ladies and my mother, the Armenian lady, they'd all go outside to the fish man and buy their fish for Friday. We also had a fruit and vegetable man, and we had a milkman. So you really didn't need to go to the store for much, So that's it. That's a story of what Mimi ate growing up, and it just carried on through my adulthood. I think I'm getting a little too fancy with what I'm cooking. So I'm going to get back to more basic cooking, and I'm going to be taking everyone on that journey of what I ate growing up, and I'm going to implement that into Crocktober. Again, my mother nobody had a crock pot till like the 70s, or a slow cooker. But we're going to see what we can do. So I hope that you liked this video. It was fun making it, and brought back a lot of good memories. And give me a thumbs up if you like going down memory lane with Mimi, sitting on the back porch, rocking in the rocking chair. Give me a thumbs up, folks. I hope you liked the video. Leave me a comment, and as always, sub if you haven't already. And I look forward to seeing everyone on my next video. God bless you.